relocated and dropped off in a new market, would you be able to succeed with real estate? What's happening? I'm JC Agajanian, broker associate with the Whistle Realty Group at eXp, and as usual, we are bringing you the recap of the Monday morning mastermind put on by the Fast Forward movement, which is just an amazing collective of top producing agents with tons of information where people get together to ask a few questions and share lots of information about those few questions. And today we've got some great ones. First of all, if you're an agent in a new city, what would you do? How would you get up and rolling right away from starting from scratch, from zero? The next topic we're going to cover is leveraging niche markets to get through more difficult cycles like the one we're experiencing now. And finally, leveling up your sales skills in general. What are you doing to improve on a regular basis? Let's get straight into it. Let's pretend you are in a brand new city, a new agent, which would be even more challenging, but even an agent with your sales skills, your experience, your track record. What are you going to do to start from scratch and get going in this area where you just simply don't know anybody? Well, we had a bunch of people weigh in on this topic this morning, and one person who actually left the country for 10 years, moved back to Boston and started from scratch and has an amazingly successful business right now. So we've got people who have been there and done that, and they've weighed in and they've given us their opinion on how to do this. One of the things we learned, first of all, is that we have to go back to the basics like we always do. We got to remember that the only way you're ever going to get any real estate business is to have conversations about real estate first. It seems like the most obvious, the most logical, the most normal statement that you could ever come up with. But people get lost in the weeds thinking about specific details of various techniques and strategies, but conversations win the day. So what are we going to do? We got to figure out how we're going to make lots of conversations every day. And for someone who's either new in the business or new in a different market, you got to commit to a minimum of 3 hours of true prospecting, not follow-up calls, per day. It's a lot. 3 hours grinding away on the phone, grinding away knocking on doors, grinding away doing open houses, doing something to have new conversations about real estate, not conversations about real estate with existing contacts. You can have those new conversations with maybe a sphere of influence, people that haven't bought before, that you haven't worked with in the past. You can have those conversations with past clients, people that maybe you have worked with in the past but haven't done anything recently and possibly are starting to think about it again. But more importantly, you got to go for those new resources. And if you're just hitting the phones, for sale by owners and expired listings are a great way to get started and to get the shortest distance between zero and a closing, right? So those are things that we recommend right off the bat. We've got to make really healthy habits though. That's important. We cannot get something like this started, this prospecting habit, this new activity where we're actually having these great conversations on a regular basis and then let go of it. We've got to hold on to it and maintain those habits as we move forward, regardless of how busy, how successful you get in real estate. We got to keep the prospecting habits in place. And talking specifically about our friend in Boston who started from scratch, he said most specifically, we've got to do what others are just not willing to do. And what he did is he committed to having 5 open houses a week. Everyone's going to have their different things. Some people love hammering phones and making cold calls to people they don't know doesn't bother them. But talking to strangers face-to-face in an open house freaks them out. Whatever is working right for you, figure it out and go all in on it. Open houses are a great way if you don't have that fear. I'm hoping you don't. And if you do, work on that with other people who do them all the time and get over that fear, because they're a great way to meet people, to have these conversations about real estate that you might not otherwise have. More importantly, you've got people who took time out of their day to come walk through a home to have a good look at it. Do people that are in no way thinking about or potentially going to buy real estate in the near future, do they do those types of things? No, they don't. Only people that have this on the top of their mind or possibly in the near future are going to go out of their way and stop and look at a home, talk to a real estate agent, and then be on their way. These are people that are motivated. These are people that are going to be doing something in the real estate world in the near future. 5 open houses a week are what Joe committed to, and He recommended for the drive time opens to do between 5 and 7:30 p.m. during a weekday. You're going to have your regular weekend open houses, but in order to get 5 in, you're going to have to do some during the week, and he recommends doing it during rush hour. Do it when people are coming home from work. We've had people in our office have success in that 4 to 6 hour, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. range, 5 to 7:30. It was, whatever the case is, the idea is you're catching people before they completely shut off for the day and head home. And again, only people that are having real estate on the mind would go out of their way after a long day of work, pull over, follow some signs before they get to their house to stop and look through a house. He experienced that Wednesdays and Thursdays were best for him to add in addition to his weekend open houses. And like anything, we've got to be consistent. He said that, he leaned on friends first for open houses. Of course, he didn't have a ton of listings of his own, and he used other people in his office. But sometimes still, there were not enough for him. And so if there were open houses that were in the farm he was focusing on, he would even offer to pay these agents for the opportunity to hold their homes open if he needed it. He wanted to be known as the guy that works this area. He wanted to be the one having his signs all over this specific neighborhood Monday through Friday, so that people just figured this guy Joe must be the one doing all the work in this neighborhood. He came out of nowhere. He started doing open houses like crazy, and his business picked up in short order. We had another story about an agent who is wildly successful. This guy's got a team under him. He's got an ISA group making appointments for him. He's got junior agents that he's training up all the time. And he's already in possession of, he already owns probably 15 or 20 doors throughout San Diego County here. He's still producing. He is not solely in a managerial role. He is still running his business and working in his business at the same time. This guy's got a gnarly rule. He's going to come up with 2 leads every single day that he didn't have before, or he's going to continue trying to come up with that first or second lead up until 8 p.m. And at that point, if he doesn't get it, he's off the hook and he can go home. Otherwise, he's not leaving his office until he's got 2 new leads that he's worked on. And the crazy thing about the story that was told was that, he was just anecdotally mentioning this to one of our other agents on the mastermind, saying, I'm pretty stoked I can go to this game with my boys tonight. And he asked him questions. He said, well, why wouldn't you be able to? And he said, well, I hadn't got my second lead yet, but I just got it, so I'm good to go. This guy is doing very well. He does not need to be worried about his production. He's got a whole team under him. He's selling a ton of homes, but he still holds himself to the same standard so that his production will never slow down in the future. He's going to continue maintaining these numbers. And that's how you get successful. He's strict with himself about his level of production. So we can take that same focus and we can apply what we've learned from some of the biggest real estate coaches in the world. Tom Ferry's one who preaches a 5-4-4 concept. And so what does that mean? He wants you to have 5 conversations with new people that you've never spoken to before about real estate. Maybe they're people that you knew, but you've never had a real estate conversation with them before. And then he wants you to have 4 conversations just from people in your database that maybe you're trying to warm up again, or you talked to in the past, but they weren't real plausible leads at the time. And then he wants you to have 4 follow-up conversations. These are people that are in the process, not ready to go shopping yet, but you've been talking to them recently and you're pushing them forward down the road of getting into buying or selling their home. So the same thing that our other friend Voltaire was doing with his strict 2 lead a day origination all the time, you can do with your 5-4-4s. You can focus on those important numbers. Figure out how to make those 5 new conversations per day. This may be door knocking, this may be open houses, this may be cold calls. Figure out what's going to be right for you. Don't leave until you get those 5. Don't leave until you get those 4. Don't leave until you get that second 4. And keep going. You can hold yourself accountable, but no one else is going to make you do what you need to do. It's only going to be you that needs to figure that out, and only going to be you that can hold yourself accountable to getting these metrics that are going to be right for you in your business. And this is what has to happen in order to go from 0 to production in a new market, or for a new agent where they live now, to go from 0 to actually selling homes. Another way to help with this concept is to join groups. Groups are great, and there's different types of groups. We're not just talking about real estate groups here. One agent spoke up and said, I moved to a new market and I happen to be pregnant at the same time. So I dove in head first and joined all the mom groups, the expecting groups. Then after I had my kid, I talked about other hobbies that moms are involved in, doing walks in the hills, doing hikes, breastfeeding groups. There's all kinds of groups you can get into, and the more you press in and just make relationships, the higher chance you have of some of those relationships becoming real estate relationships. So join groups, figure out what you're into, what you're passionate about, and what you wouldn't mind really going all in on, contributing to, hosting, helping, coordinating, scheduling. The more involved you are in these groups, the better off you're going to be at really laying in and creating solid relationships with these people that have this thing in common that you have in common as well. The real estate will be a byproduct. First and foremost, you're being kind, you're being friendly, and you're making relationships with somebody else that has something in common with you. And because of that, business will come. Social media is a whole other thing that we can talk about. I mean, this is a whole topic that we could spend the whole morning chatting about. But the overall arching concept is get busy on social media. Make friends. You can join groups online as well that happen to be real estate related, or maybe they're just community related. Maybe they're about the restaurants in the new town that you're in, whatever the case may be. But make comments, slide into DMs, make relationships, start up conversations with people. That's the whole thing we're talking about here. You can also post deals that you're aware of, whether they're places for rent or places for sale, but you can post these into these groups, create conversation, and go from there. We're going to wrap this topic, but before we do, a really important thing to keep in mind is that we ought to ignore the average agents that are in our lives every day. You run into people all the time that are either negative, maybe aren't doing very well, and have tons of reasons why. This type of info and these type of people are going to be coming at you all the time. But what we want to do is focus on learning from people like those in this mastermind. We want to focus on learning from people who have literally done the thing that we're having trouble with. We want to focus on the people that are excelling even in this market. We want to focus on learning from the people that are openly sharing this information out of experience, not out of theory. And those are the types of groups you really want to get yourself involved in. And that's the reason that I participate in this mastermind every single Monday. Finally, don't forget, the license says salesperson. You can't be the anti-salesperson. You can't be the friend who helps people with real estate. You're a salesperson. So we need to be in the business of selling every day. So we need to acquire, we need to work on, we need to practice sales skills, scripts, dialogues, techniques. We have to be good at what we do. And we can't try and pretend that selling is not that thing that we do. So let's embrace it, get really good at what we're doing, and sell a bunch of homes. That's it for that topic. We're going to move on to leveraging niche markets. Right now, the market is kind of tough, and it only makes sense to go in deep into a specific direction and see if you can become the big fish in the small pond there instead of joining the fray and competing with every other realtor in town. First things first, investors are kind of a low-hanging fruit when it comes to this. There are lots of different types of deals that investors look for, and there are specific types of investors that you can partner up with and help them accomplish what they're doing. And by partnering up with them and helping them find what they need in the first place, you will likely be the automatic choice when it comes time to sell that property when it's done. Syndications are huge. Self-storage, RV parks, these are popular throughout the country. Not quite as much here in Southern California, but they're all over the country, and they're things that we can invest in on our own. But if you're in an area where these projects are taking place, you can help people go find these pieces of land or find maybe delinquent RV parks that need to be renovated and brought up. These are the types of projects that the people running these syndications start salivating for. They love it if you can serve them up something nice, because then it's time for them to go to work. They can make plans of how they're going to make this thing amazing. They can make plans of how they're going to structure the group, where they're going to get the investment money from to come together and make this project work. And then you're going to get to participate in the syndication as well. And if there's a resale event, if it's not maybe an RV park or something like that, but there's some sort of other end game, then you can likely participate in that resale event as well. If you're near a lake or somewhere where people have recreational trips, then they're probably going to want to store their recreational vehicles or their boat. So boat storage, RV storage is a popular one too. If you've got an investor who wants to create something like that, you can move it in that direction. Again, not necessarily in Southern California, but there's plenty of parts of the country that have farm and ranch land. That's a great niche that you can dive into and help people run with that project, whatever that looks like. It's not my niche for sure, but there's plenty of people out here that know exactly what I'm talking about here. We also have the fortune of having a killer from Manhattan Beach in the mastermind, and he mentioned his sports star relocation program that he created. So he basically landed one professional athlete who wanted to move into, I think, Manhattan or Hermosa Beach, something like that. And he wanted more of it. He thought it was a great experience. He loved the idea of working with someone who has a professional athlete as their career. And he knows that his peers are going to have big money to spend lots of money on expensive homes. Ed already works in the super luxury market. He regularly sells, $1 to $5 million properties in his market. And it's not uncommon for him to sell $5 to $20 million properties as well. So the idea of working with professional athletes was super appealing to him. So what did he do? He created Sports Star Relocation to get more of them. And he had to go about working that niche. Very difficult. Clearly, it's not something that's going to be easy to get in with, but he had some ideas of how to do it. And at this point, he's now worked with plenty of athletes and helped them move into this amazing part of Los Angeles that he lives in. So what do we need to do? We need to think about that client. We need to figure out who it is we want to serve and what problems they need solved, right? And how are we going to come alongside and fix those issues, create an amazing experience for that client, right? What do they want? What are they getting away from? What are they being attracted to? And how can we become just part of this world that they're in? For Ed, it was obvious he needed to go to the charity events that people in that level of net worth go to. He needed to join the philanthropic groups that are local to that area that he works in. These are ways that he can further press into above and beyond networking with other agents that are selling to professional athletes as well. These are the things he did to create this special niche of his own that was highly rewarding for him. So we always like to say, get in where you fit in. Find a niche that's going to work with who you are, your personality, your likes, your dislikes, your interests, your level of income, what's going on in your area. Just get in where you fit in and go hard. Don't just dabble, but go all in, put some money, some time, invest yourself into this area, and it will pay off for you. So finally, we're going to move on to the last topic that we covered today, which is leveling up your sales skills. Now, this is one of the core topics that almost every coach, every real estate team lead hits on a regular basis, but it helps no matter what, because there's always people who maybe haven't heard it all, right? And so the first thing is super obvious: daily practice. There's no way to get better at what you're doing if you don't practice it. And of course, speaking of all these professional athletes that we want to work with, let's think about what they actually do to become professional athletes. They spend exponentially more time on the practice field, in the gym, in the weight room, looking at film, doing drills, figuring out how to get better on an incremental level. All this time is exponentially more than the actual time they're playing on the field or on the court or whatever sport they're playing, right? So why wouldn't we do the same thing these pros are doing? We have the ability to make pro money. To be honest with you, if you really excel in this job, you can make money that some of the professional athletes in various sports are making themselves. So why wouldn't we hold ourselves to the same standard and practice a bunch? Well, at the Whistle Group, we role play every day. We have in-person role plays to practice our presentations every week. We take practice seriously. You got to role play phone calls over the phone, obviously. The in-person appointments, you should be sitting in the office pretending you're in someone's home going over the presentation, if that's with a PowerPoint on an iPad, if that's with paperwork that you bring in. However you sit down with your clients, you should do that with your coworkers. Practice on them, screw up on them so you don't screw up on your clients and lose an opportunity to take a listing. Role play is hugely important. You can even record yourself on the phone or record yourself on the in-person role play so that you can go back and listen to yourself and realize how you actually sound to other people. You might have no idea what you actually sound like when you remove yourself from the one making the words, talking. I've done this myself. I've recorded a ton of role play and live calls on prospects myself, and I've had coaches go through that with me. It's a huge tool that you can use to get better at your sales skills. Analyze the calls. Get someone else to help you with it. Focus in on what you're doing. Focus on the little details of your words. Are you saying waiting too long in between sentences? Are you talking too fast? Are you not letting the other person finish what they're saying on the other side of the phone before you start with your idea? All these things can just get granular, and altogether will make you so much better on the phone or so much better in person if you just focus on these details and really understand that not only have you practice your script and you've digested it and you're able to say it without looking at it, and you can actually carry on a good conversation and still keep it on track, but you've gone even farther. Now you're focusing on the minute things that move the needle and really help you get really good at having these conversations that are so important with potential clients. We also have to be truly curious when we're speaking to these people, right? We can't just be focused on the script and moving the conversation forward and hoping that we get to a yes at the end of it. We have to care about what's going on in their lives. Like, they've reached out to a stranger to get some assistance to get something done. So we have to become truly and genuinely curious about who we're speaking with, what is important to them, and how we can help them with their agenda and help them accomplish their goal instead of be focused on our agenda, which is that paycheck and that closing when it's all said and done, right? Other ways to level up your sales skills is to change your environment. Go to conferences. The things that you learn from the speakers on stage are not the only reason we go to conferences. There are so many great reasons to go to an event. First and foremost, just changing your environment is helpful. You're breaking yourself out of your daily, weekly, monthly cycle, and you're doing something different. You're meeting different people. You're changing what you do every day. So that alone is going to have a good impact in shaking things up. Of course, you're going to have learning lessons. You're going to take notes. You're going to actually apply yourself in the conference that you're at. But you're also going to learn from networking. You're going to meet new people, and you're going to learn from them, and you're going to walk away from that event with changed environment, different routine, notes and learning, and new relationships and friendships that you can all learn from and grow together. Events are great. You've got to do at least 1 or 2 a year. I know they cost money. I know they're inconvenient, but I just demonstrated what the value is there for them. I hope you see it as well. We've always got to be learning, not just at events, but when we are back in our own routine as well. Read books, listen to audiobooks, watch podcasts that are focused on the specific type of sales skills you're trying to improve on. Be serious and intentional about all the media you're taking in. Don't just blindly jump in the car and listen to something that was entertaining or whatever. Use every little bit of time that you've got to truly be growing. If you're really trying to level up your sales skills, get better in front of clients and sign more deals, you've got to take advantage of all these little windows of time that you've got. And we've got to always be learning. And a great way, one way I do it is with audiobooks. Paper books slow me down a lot, and by the time I'm at home, I got family, kids, whatever, not that much time. But I take advantage of audiobooks, and I'm taking in new information all the time. Figure out what works for you and take in that new information all the time yourself. A few recommendations: Sales EQ, The Lost Art of Closing, Never Split the Difference. There's some great books out there. These are just a few. There's some good follows you can check out as well. Tim Toole, Sharon Shrivastava, Raquel Cornett, Jerry Miner, John Cheplack. These are all good people you can check out on social media that are talking about sales-oriented things, so that when you're scrolling, even when you're scrolling, looking to waste time, looking to check out, turn your brain off, you can set it up so that even your feed is helping you level up your sales skills. That's all we got today. I hope this is helpful as usual. And like I always say, I hope you can find something on the topics of being in a new city or being a new agent, and how to begin, on the topics of leveraging niche markets or leveling up your sales skills. I hope you can find something in here to apply in your business today, to implement and to activate instead of just learning some head knowledge. Let's activate it and use it in your business to help you grow. Shoot me a message right here if you've got any questions or comments. I'm always happy to talk, and I'll talk to you soon.